moment in my life.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Back?
We are. We're all back.
We are all back, feeling much better than I was. So.
Had a right good Skive.
Oh, yeah.
A good DOS.
What was the title of the episode? What would you call it this week, Max?
Sai returns from his Skive and random balloon.
Yeah, that's because whenever I type recently, I just keep sending random emojis and random letters to people. I say recently. I've known you now, Magsy, for about a year and a half, and I think I've always done it. So perhaps it's just weird. Time for me to admit I just thought,
I just thought it was special. I thought you were special in every way.
As in needs.
Maybe. But as Mrs. Powell says in the chat, it is Monday night, so you know what that means.
Oh yes. I first of all, before we get on, I want to say thank you so much to everybody who messaged me, whether it was that they sent me a tweet or they sent me a DM or anything like that, wishing me well and saying, hope I get better soon and all that sort of stuff. I hugely appreciate it. We'll get to my experiences with COVID very soon. Honestly, that was horrific, but we'll get to that in a moment. However, and God damn it, have I missed this. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or indeed watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live, returning from a 1-week hiatus from me lying in bed feeling rough as hell with Mags and Sai, a Radio Tekkers production. I am the feeling much better Sai, thank you for asking. And with me, as always, is the Flying Brian to my felt like I was dying. The Larry Zabisco to my lateral flow. That's a good one, Max. You like that? You having that one? That's a good one.
No, I've had a lateral flow test today.
A podcaster who once a year sneaks around your house touching packages, but oddly not in December, not in a red suit. I'll leave you to figure that one out on your own. But
not I'd say in any suit at all.
His birthday suit. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. How are we doing, mate? I missed you last week,
Yeah, I mean, I know I'll give you grief, but I did miss you. It was cool to have a bit of a break, and we got to slide the volley into an earlier slot. And I give a little bit of a tribute to you by introducing the show in the Sai Powell style. But yeah, glad you're back, sir. Glad you're back.
I did enjoy that. I did enjoy you having a go at the intro there. That was quite cool.
I didn't nail it. I certainly didn't nail it, but yeah, I had a go.
The secret is to have not a lot else going on in your life, so you can just practice it.
Brilliant.
So COVID last week meant for the first time since Chain Wrestling started, we had a week with no episode. And for the first time since we went live, we actually had a week with nothing coming out at all. So that was a bit of a shock to the system. I desperately wanted to try and get the show done. I cancelled other recordings and so on that were scheduled before Chain Wrestling. But the closer it got to the time, the more I thought, oh man, I just feel so terrible. I ain't going to be able to get through it. So
I've always had a mantra when it comes to recording podcasts or going live, that real life always comes first. And if it doesn't matter, and at the end of the day, we do this for fun. And if it meant you were struggling with illness, it wouldn't be fun for you. So there's absolutely would have been no point you doing the show. So yeah, we've brought the duck now. We've had a week away. We'll be back hitting them harder than ever with the chain wrestling. So
yeah, maybe
I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back. Glad you're feeling better. We've got Millwall Chris in the chat saying how long before you actually felt better, because he tested positive this morning and he feels like crap. Mrs. Mag actually made me take one of the lateral floor tests earlier because I'm a bit sneezy, a bit coughy, a bit wheezy. I'm perfectly fine. No symptoms of COVID, and then the test come back fully negative. So yeah, it's just you, the infected one, sir. And patient zero in the chat.
No, Charlie is not patient zero. Livy was patient zero.
Yes.
Charlie was patient zero COVID. If anything, the weird thing was it worked this way around our whole household, apart from Charlie. Charlie continued to test negative the whole time. She had a few symptoms. She had a bit of a cough. She didn't feel very well, so she couldn't go to school anyway because she was living with someone who had a positive test and had symptoms. But she shares a room with Livy, who is our patient zero. She brought it in the house. Thanks, Liv. And it went round everyone in the household. Oddly, apart from Charlie. Charlie survived it all, so she didn't pick up anything, which was funny. Millwall Chris, let me have a think. Monday night I did chain wrestling and I felt a bit grotty. So we took the test Tuesday morning, came back positive. Tuesday afternoon I was rough. Wednesday afternoon I was terrible. Thursday, Friday. I'd probably say Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, I started to feel a bit better, I guess. Probably Saturday afternoon I started to feel a bit better, and then since then I've felt all right. So less than a week, but not by much. 5-6 days, maybe, I suppose, was the worst part of it. But it affects everyone differently, doesn't it? I mean, my wife was quite poorly. Sharon was quite coughy and spluttery and achy and felt rough. My lad had it, and he, barring feeling a bit grotty here and there and a bit of a cough, was relatively okay. Liv, who brought it into the house, seemed pretty much fine, barring a day where she was a bit off. But honestly, that was the worst I have ever felt in my whole life. I'm not, saying this with dramatic effect or anything like that. That was the worst I have felt in my whole life. I've never been that ill before in my years of existence. Like, whether it was all the different illnesses and so on I've had in the past, issues I've had in the past, that was horrific. There are times I couldn't get out of bed. There are times I couldn't eat. I couldn't do it. I was awful. Yeah, the wife does. I'm still not. Yeah, I confession time.
I mean, I'd put it that he's never been right in the first place.
Confession time. Like, I still get hit with the tiredness.
Yeah.
Today I literally went for a bit of a lie down before we went live because it hit me again. I felt a bit tired. It's not like ill, just a bit like all of a sudden bang. Like I need to sleep, and it's weird, but is what it is, mate. Is what it is. How's your last 2 weeks been there, Magsy, since I last seen your glorious little round face?
Wow. It's been fun, busy. As always, like I said, when we had a negative COVID test today, feeling a little bit worse aware earlier on, but yeah, I'm fine. I'll muddle through. But yeah, in terms of content, it's been ravaged a little bit with COVID, especially with the football. So we've been kind of hit and miss with Radio Tekkers. But it's Christmas, so it's been kept busy recording like the Christmas episodes of shows and things like that. So yeah, I found things to do with my absence of my weekly dose of SA.
Yeah, missing me though, mate, weren't you? Missing me.
I were, yeah. I mean, I know I give you grief. I know I poke fun, but yeah, I miss you last Monday, and you're gonna make me regret that in this episode, I assume.
Well, maybe. No, I miss doing the show as well. It's funny. There's the saying, isn't there, that you don't know what you got till it's gone, I guess. The old Cinderella song, fantastic band from the 80s. Look them up, kids, if you've never heard anything by Cinderella. They are awesome. That tune, again, you don't know what you got till it's gone. Having just the 1 week off, I was gutted because I was so desperate to try and get to do the show, because again, I said, I said nobody's heard it yet because I've been recording bits and bobs, but I said this is one of the highlights of my week. I know Magsy said one of the highlights of his week. People always tell us it's one of the highlights of their week, and they look forward to a Monday evening with us and everyone else in the chat and so on. So yeah, I really want to try and get it done. But as you said, Magsy, it just got to a stage where I had to kind of give up on that idea. So I'm really glad to be back, sat in front of this tiny little space and a blaring, gleaming light blinding me to be able to speak to everybody in the chat and yourself, mate. So yeah, I'm glad that we're back anyway.
Well, I'm going to put you on a bit of a downer now because I mentioned to you in the pre-stream that I've got a pimple dick this week.
No!
So let's hit that music.
Pimple dick alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
Yes. So this week's pimple dick is you lot. You lot out there. Ooh. Now, I don't mean you are included in this group.
Okay.
Now, I obviously don't mean the chain wrestling family. I know that you guys are paragons of virtue, and you made this show absolutely amazing every single week. But it's the the wrestling Twitter sphere or the RWC in general. Over the past 48 hours or so, 3 wrestlers have been essentially forced off Twitter because of backlash from wrestling Twitter over various incidents. We've had Cora Jade and the stuff that went on with her between her and Darby Allin. For the wrestling Twitterverse forced Cora Jade to essentially delete her Twitter account, which is ridiculous, over a petty little argument over a skateboard. Then we've had Jordan Grace today. She deleted her account because wrestling fans were giving her husband, Jonathan Gresham, grief about his heart. Now, the guy, he's 5'4", I think, 5'5", but he's arguably one of the best wrestlers that's alive today.
That's the Ring of Honor guy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy who won the Ring of Honor title at the last show. Running his own show in the next few weeks called Terminus, I think. But yeah, he's super, super talented. And she got to the point where she felt she had to defend him from all this vitriol of hate. And that then fired onto her. So she deleted her Twitter account. But the one that kind of ground me the most is Ty Conte. Now, obviously, being a massive AEW fan, you'll probably know the reasoning why, but Sammy Guevara recently proposed to his girlfriend on an episode of Dynamite, and they've subsequently broken up, and Ty Conte is for whether she's done anything or not is absolutely irrelevant, but she's getting grief and being called a home wrecker, being basically just given loads and loads of backlash because Sammy Guevara split up with his girlfriend, to the point where she handed the control of her social media over to her management team. And when the vitriol didn't stop, the management team made the decision to close that account as well. So wrestling Twitter showing its absolute bare arsehole again, showing how much of idiots that they are, that they forced 3 wrestlers off wrestling Twitter. It's wrestling. It's entertainment. Other people's lives are not your problem. It just annoys me. And the Ty Conti one more than anything, because it wasn't that long ago we had all the same thing with Corey Graves and Carmella.
Yeah, I remember.
And it seems to be kind of rolling back round again, where the anonymity of wrestling Twitter means you can say horrible things to a person and there's no comeback, there's no recompense for it, and I just don't like it at all. I'm not a massive fan of Ty Conti, especially her NXT run, but I think that she has grown so much into a wrestler where she looked like a legitimate contender for Britt Baker. She had the backing of the internet wrestling community. Everybody seemed to love her, and then 2 days later, she's enemy number 1. It's ridiculous. Wrestling Twitter needs to have a word with itself. There needs to be a lot of people grow up inside the wrestling Twitter sphere.
Yeah, I totally agree. Is it Jordan Grace, the lady's name, and Jonathan Gresham?
Yep.
Yeah. I saw something when I woke up this morning, and I tried to sort of look into what it was, but I'd already seen that the lady had deleted her Twitter, so on. So I was literally just picking up bits and bobs to sort of find out what happened there. The one with the skateboarding issue and so on, I thought that young lady dealt with her comments very, very well with regards to Darby Allin, but people just turned on her and so on. The Ty Conti one's disgusting. It's absolutely shocking, and the reason it is, it's completely irrelevant. What's happened, what hasn't happened, what's gone on, what the rumors are, whether it's true, false, whatever. It's completely irrelevant because it's nobody's fucking business.
Exactly.
Nobody's business. But yeah, these people, and this is the biggest issue I have with social media, is that I'm all for freedom of speech. I'm all for everyone having a voice and everyone having an opinion. However, with everyone having a voice and having an opinion is literally that. Everyone has a voice, and that includes the low IQ pimple dick morons who either A, enjoy stirring up trouble and causing problems, or B, are just downright stupid that they're commenting on stuff and talking about topics that they're not qualified or intelligent enough to discuss with other members of the general public. Yeah, and this is the biggest issue I have with social media in general, because there's so much positive to come from Twitter and Facebook and all the others. I mean, what we do, for example, is so heavily based upon wrestling Twitter and the interactions we get. The matches we look at come from what the votes that our listeners and viewers put forward, our non-wrestling topic and our discussions on Twitter and all this sort of stuff is all through social media. So to me, that's a huge positive of social media. However, there are so many assholes out there who use it for just being a dick and being able to hide behind a profile picture. And I mean, the term is keyboard warrior, I guess, isn't it? But being able to hide behind a profile picture of their favorite wrestler or a cartoon or something that doesn't actually show their own spotty little face sat in their mum and dad's basement waiting for their mum to bring down their sandwich for lunch and so on, because they're not allowed to go upstairs and use the sharp knives because it's too dangerous for them, and all this sort of stuff. It's ridiculous, and you've got these people who comment on, who think they've got a right to comment on these people's personal lives or body shame or whatever, which they haven't, obviously. And then you've also got people who seem to think their opinion matters more than anyone else. And that is the assholes, the Brad Shepherds of this world. My God, that guy just needs to go and just choke on a big bag of dicks. He's a piece of shit. The DJ Storms, what a fucking asshole he is. I hope he catches COVID to the level I had it, and I wouldn't wish this upon anyone. But that guy, fucking hell, I want him to spend a week laid in bed feeling rough as shit, because he is that much of a piece of crap and makes people miserable. I wish that there was some way of policing this better. Whether that comes from the social media companies themselves or whatever, I don't know. I wish there was a way that these people, when they behaved in a certain way, made certain comments, whether it is body shaming, being homophobic, racist, or, as you explained there, Max, getting involved in other people's personal lives and basically hounding people from a social media platform. I wish there was a way that this could be policed better and these people could get kicked off social media, and the good people, shall we say, can just get on with it and enjoy it for what it should be used for. And that's a platform to enhance, I suppose, meeting new friends and discussing topics that we all love.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Twitter is as now as it has ever been a double-edged sword. It's so cool that we have made these connections with the CWF and with you, that I wouldn't change that for the world. But it comes with the fact that these wrestlers now have fans in their mentions and fans in their follow base who believe that they are owed access to every facet of their lives.
It's the entitlement, isn't it? It's that kind of air of entitlement that they have. That Sorry, Max, you're gone.
No, you're right. You've hit the nail on the head. It's the entitlement that a lot of fans have, that they are obliged to know this information, that they're obliged to know that somebody is having extramarital or extra relationship affairs. That's not anyone's business. It wouldn't be anyone's business if I was doing it. It wouldn't be anyone's business if you were doing it. Why do we believe that it's our business if a wrestler's doing it? They owe us absolutely nothing. They give more than they ever should in terms of interaction with fans, in terms of sharing stuff about their lives. But to hound a potential innocent party off a social media platform it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it just shows how draconian wrestling Twitter can be sometimes. That they think that they are owed this information. It's beyond a joke. When people like Corey Jade, who's a young 22-year-old,
she's younger than that. Isn't she only 20? I think she's just 20 years of age. And she got hounded off social media because of the vitriol from Darby Allin fans. Ty Conte, like I said, potentially has nothing to do with it, with the Sammy and Pam stuff. But even if she had, it's not our business, and it's certainly not the business of people to go and hound her off social media. And then the Jonathan Gresham stuff, it's just horrific how people think
They have the right to slate this guy because he's not 6 foot and not built in the WWE way. He would legitimately kill each and every one of those people making those comments. He's that talented. Dan has put it in the chat perfectly. As Slipknot put it, people are equal shit. Yeah, and there's a saying that I kind of live by from the RT crowd, Roy. People, what a bunch of bastards.
Yeah, totally. And again, people who can hide behind a profile picture, I think, are even worse, aren't they? You know, or they think, oh, I'm tucked away somewhere on my laptop or my phone, and no one can get to me in real life, and just run their mouths. It's disgusting, and it's bullying, effectively, especially when there's a group of people hounding one particular individual about something. It's bullying, and again,
we learned nothing? Have we learned nothing over the last 2 years of wrestling? We've learned absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and you get these people who. And again, I mentioned his name earlier. I'm not going to say it again. You can make your mind up on which of the two it is because they're both pieces of shit. But
wait for it.
Oh my God! What a fuck! Anyone who watches that fucking idiot, Jesus fucking Christ! He's one of the worst of the lot. He's one of the biggest bullies I've ever encountered on social media, and he's tried it with me in the past. My first interaction with him. Now I didn't even know who he was. I had no idea, and he jumped on a comment I put on there. It was like unpopular opinions on Twitter, and I put something on there, and he jumped on it and basically started calling me stupid and saying that it's not my opinion, it's stupidity. He speaks fat, and it really went for it. Now looking back, the funniest thing about this whole interaction was being quite sarcastic and tongue in cheek, and just being a bit of a dick back, I suppose. I said to him, I noticed you got a YouTube channel. Would you like me to put a few tweets out trying to help you publicize it a little bit? Because I see you haven't got many followers. Oh my God, did he bite on that one, mate? Did he bite on that one? But again, I didn't do it out of just trying to be a clever dick. I didn't even know who the guy was. But it's just he's the perfect example of someone who just runs their mouth and just bullies people. And then again, these people who hanged Ty Conti and hanged the other people that we've discussed, or jump on certain individuals' content and call them idiots and pathetic for what they're doing, or laugh because, oh, this video's only got 10 views, and why does that fucking matter? Someone's doing what they're doing and they're enjoying it, whatever. But they jump on and start ranting on about it and having a go at them, and you're pathetic and why'd you bother and all this. And then in their bios, they've got, we're anti-bullying. Everyone's equal. Everyone's this. Everyone's that. And it's like, oh, you fucking idiots. Just, oh, I'm done. I'm going to go away for another week, I think. You've wound me up now.
Wow. I mean, I didn't mean to do that, but essentially it's just internet wrestling community just needs to do better. To do better.
I'll tell you something else that's really powerful, Magsy. And this is something that I really sort of noticed in the last few weeks, especially being quite poorly, and the only thing I could do was watch my laptop and go on social media. Block, report, mute, whatever. Those buttons are an absolute godsend. Whereas I want everyone to be as inclusive as possible and have everyone talk. Social media is great for meeting people and talking to people that you wouldn't normally come across, I guess, because the world is a big place and social media makes it that much smaller. Sometimes having that mindset of, you know what, I'm just going to cut these people out because they are a fucking cancer. They're disgusting human beings. I'm just going to cut these people out, and making your timeline, for want of a better term, your own social media, for molding that into what you want it to be. I'm a huge advocate for that. Don't be afraid of muting these people, cutting these people out, blocking these people, reporting these people. If you see something you don't like, just do it. Who cares? There's millions of people online. Don't let one or two ruin, your experience. Yeah,
your Twitter, your rules. If you
exactly, mate.
You cultivate the following and you cultivate the friendships that you want. Don't put up with the bullshit.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. What we got going on in the chat then, Magsy, before we get on to our non-wrestling topic this week?
Woof. Well, it's quite an active chat today. There's a new face in the live chat here, but we'll get to that in a minute. We've got Mrs. P. It's Monday night. You know what that means. Dan Griffin, hello, sir. Here we go. First Christmas present. Chain Wrestling is back. And also go and check out our UTT podcast. I think the episode with Matt Willis dropped today, and it's a banger.
If Matt Willis is on it, you have to set aside about 5.5 hours, I expect.
It's close to 3. It's about 3 hours.
Love you, Matt. I'm only joking.
Scottish Danny, and yeah, finally the chain has come back to YouTube. And again, I've got to give props out to Danny as well. With Tanner having this move across the state of Texas, Danny has come in clutch on a change in attitude. I think we've recorded. He's been on for the last 4 or 5 weeks now, and he's been an absolute star on that show. He even led an episode because obviously we're changing attitude. Yeah, we have the kind of gimmick where it's a rotating lead, and Danny, before we even pitched him to rotate to be a lead, he was on it. He's like, "Yep, can't wait. I've already got my notes sorted." So yeah, he's been
brilliant stuff. Well done, Danny.
Superstar.
Well done, Danny. Sorry, speaking of Tanner there, Magsy, does he drive or does his missus? Are they moving items across Texas one by hand? Because he's been gone for weeks.
It's to do with he had signed a rental agreement in Waco, which wasn't up till like the beginning of January.
Right. Okay.
And then his missus got a job back in Austin, so they essentially have 2 places at the same time. So rather than have to like run it all down in one go, he's got plenty of time to move it about. But yeah,
I reckon he's just avoiding you.
I mean, I don't blame him. I try and avoid me, and I live with me. Back to the chat. We've got Conor Mccabe. Hello, sir. And Conor. Again, I feel like I'm promoting everybody's stuff, but he set up his own YouTube channel now, where I think he's doing a show similar to Quantum Leap. I think. What is the show called?
Twilight Zone.
Again, the Twilight Zone. Yeah,
yeah. I've seen the tweets and so on, Conor.
Yeah, he's doing some good stuff there. Sharon, he's still not right now. And Dan Griffin saying, yeah, he's always half left. Correct. And then we're getting a lot of love for our take on wrestling Twitter. Absolutely one of the highlights of the week. Chain Wrestling is Council of Dan's approved. Sharon confirming that Charlie's the only one in the house who isn't vaccinated. And she's also the only one who didn't get COVID, which is quite mental. Dan agreeing that wrestling fans are such weird dickheads. And Sharon saying people are guilty unless proven otherwise. Opinions like assholes. We all have one, but that doesn't mean we show it. And the Queen of any, Mama Queen in the chat. Hello, Queen. How are you? Sharon, Scottish Danny, I think that's why we've always struggled with it, and she's meaning it's for how far some fans will go. Dan, may all the pimple dicks of Twitter forever have an itch in a place that they cannot reach. Brilliant. Then Dan saying people are shit, but present company are excluded, obviously. Scottish Danny saying RT crowd was ahead of its time. Imagine what we'd be like with all the new technology, and if the internet was a box on its own, and you have to be careful to not break the internet.
I'll give you the internet,
and it doesn't weigh anything because it's wireless.
Yeah. Oh, that is so good, isn't it? That program cracks me up.
It absolutely is. So yeah, we've plenty of action in the chat, and as per usual, they're having chats between themselves, not really concentrating on us, which is.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
Sharon confirming that you're probably going to need a little bit of a nanny nap after this.
I just run out of steam so quick, mate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like literally anything, just wipes me out.
Yeah, it's worn down. I mean, it hits so many kind of many of your bodily systems that I am not surprised. I'm actually surprised you are back as you are now. I thought you would have knocked you way more off your feet. I've seen people really struggle with it.
I did have a 3-hour kit before we went live, to be fair. Yeah, so there we go. I apologize in advance if I start yawning towards the end of the show, or if I forget to press my mute button and start coughing. I apologize in advance. Maxie, shall we get to Twitter then, after we've just slagged off all the social media, and have a little look at what people have been sending us this week?
Yes, we shall.
Okie doke. Our non-wrestling topic this week was, I suppose, preempting that Christmas is coming. Literally in the next few days, our Christmas special will be this time next week. So hopefully many people will be joining us for that. When you're fed up of talking to the in-laws and you're God knows how many, what is it, like third, fourth round of turkey sandwiches and other stuff, and you're just fed up and bloated and cross because all the crappy quality street is all that's left in the tin. You can join us next Monday for a Christmas special, and hopefully we can put a little bit of a shine on the after Boxing Day festivities.
I'm taking that bet, by the way, Dan, offering odds of 3-1 for Sar to nod off mid-show.
Do you know what makes it even worse? I've not been to the shop today, so I've not got my usual kind of ginger beer monster.
Wow.
So I'm going to struggle, mate. I'll give it another 20 minutes or so, and I'm going to really struggle.
And
but
plus, we've got a Barry Windham match as well, so that's going to be a hard one to keep.
We'll have no Barry Windham slander on this show. Thank you very much. My goodness. Get me all fired up again, Magsy. I'll have to go for a nap then. Our non-wrestling topic this week was very much about Christmas telly, Christmas specials, Christmas episodes of TV shows, the good, the bad, what worked, what was awful. Has anyone tried to sort of crowbar a Christmas theme into a TV show and it was crap, or any movies that you try and watch every year and so on? And we had, again, quite the response, Mags, didn't we? It was lovely to see. Some films I'm not sure of, some films I don't agree with or I've not heard of before, but still all the same. Some great stuff coming through.
Yeah, there were certainly some spicy takes, but there was some pretty unanimous takes as well, but which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, that's it. We'll start with Dan Griffin. We'll go through it in the order it arrived into us, as always. At Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter, my co-host for the Doctor Who podcast that we shall be getting going very soon. One episode recorded, and we had plans to do more, and then COVID reared its ugly head, and I had to cancel bloody everything. And then this weekend, I had internet trouble as well, just when I started thinking to myself, I'm going to be getting back on board. So I had to delay that, but it will be coming very soon, as will the end of season 1 of The Waiting Room. Please bear with us.
Which has been awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, I really enjoyed doing it, and it's been good. And when I listen back to the shows, I think, man, I enjoy listening back as well, which is to me a good sign, you know. So, okay. Dan says, favorite Christmas movie, Muppets Christmas Carol. It's just brilliant, and it is. It's awesome. I can remember having that on VHS.
It's good.
Most hated Christmas movie. Now this one got me because pretty much everybody said the same thing. And I'm surprised that this got no love at all. And that's Elf. It's just not funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best Christmas film, don't get me wrong, but it's all right. There's certainly worse films than that. And yeah, I was actually surprised that a lot of people just hated it with passion. Passionately hated this film.
Yeah, my sister is like probably the biggest Alf fan going. She loves it and she quotes it all the time. But I got a theory about Alf in the same way that I suppose Anchorman falls into this category as well, in that it's funnier maybe the second time you watch it,
and it grows old quickly.
Yeah, but because of all the times that people quote it, especially with Anchorman, I find watching Anchorman not as funny as when people quote it in real life. Does that make sense?
I find it funnier in GIF form than I do watching the film.
Yeah, and I think Alf kind of fits into that as well.
Yeah, I see that, and I think it's oversaturated because so many people loved it when it first came out, and then it got kind of a cult following that now. Yeah, you've seen it so many times that it's boring now. I don't agree that it's not funny. There are some funny bits in it, but yeah, it's not the best film, but it's not the worst.
What's the guy's name? The main actor, Will Ferrell, isn't it?
Will Ferrell, yeah.
Yeah. Is he funny, Max? As a generalization, is he funny? I
find him funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not laugh out loud, rip roaring belly ache funny, but it makes me chuckle.
It's very sort of, I suppose, American daft humor, isn't it? I guess it's very kind of, yeah, fair enough. Best Christmas TV, Dan continues. Morecambe and Wise, timeless classics. I 100% agree on that. Morecambe and Wise, fantastic.
Can't fault that. Great pick.
Worst Christmas TV, Mrs. Brown's Boys. Utter bollocks.
And this was pretty unanimous all the way up and down wrestling Twitter that Mrs. Brown Boys is not funny. And the BBC version, I fully agree. I don't find myself laughing at it at all. The original Irish ones, where it's not based in a set, are a lot better. He gets away with a lot more. It's less kind of watered down and homogenized. But yeah, the BBC ones, I would rather eat my own shit than watch them.
I just realised, actually, mentioning Mrs. Brown's Boys, that my hair today looks a little bit like the granddad who sits in the chair, doesn't it? You see that? And that's not good, is it? Bloody hell. Not quite as grey gesture, but heading that way. At UTT Rob, the other half of the fantastic UTT podcast, he says Father Ted Christmas special, where a group of priests get lost in Ireland's biggest lingerie section, was brilliant, and that makes me laugh every time I see it.
I don't remember it. Oh,
Magsy, it's so good. It is so, because it's just ridiculous, but they play it deadly serious, as though they're caught in this scenario that's going to get them in so much trouble. You know, it's so good. I'll have to find it and send you a link, or see if you can track it down yourself or whatever. It's so good. The Doctor Who Christmas specials are normally great. That I'll agree upon, because I'm a massive Doctor Who fan. No Doctor Who Christmas this year, though, mate. No Doctor Who Christmas special this year.
Yeah, it's the Flux, isn't it, this year?
It's finished.
The storyline they're going with.
The Flux thing's finished now, and they got a New Year's Day special, I think it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because is it Jodie Whittaker's moving on now?
Yeah, I think she's already filmed everything. She's done her end of like the regeneration scene, and so she's got 3 specials throughout the year, and then she's done. But she's already finished filming, I think. So.
Okay, yeah, I've kind of like dropped off when she took over as Doctor, not because of her, just time wise more. Because she's
incredibly sexist when it comes to Time Lords. Is that the situation?
I love her. I think she's one. I think she's one of the most underrated actresses that Britons have got. It's just her becoming the Doctor, kind of like it coincided with me becoming more and more busy and not really watching a lot of standard TV. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and check out more of the stuff that she's done.
Yeah, I think she's been cursed a little bit with some bad writing potentially, but I've enjoyed Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, to be fair. But yeah, the Doctor Who Christmas specials are normally quite good. Good. You get, Rob continues. The only Fools and Horses ones felt like they were just being pumped out for the sake of it. I suppose.
It's still funny though.
I don't like it when they've made the millions, haven't they? They've got that painting that they've had all along and end up super rich. And then it ends, and then you think that's it. But then they wrote another 1 or 2 after that where they've lost the money. I don't think they should have done that. I didn't particularly enjoy those ones. They should have stayed rich to me. That would have been a nice way to finish the show, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That it smacks of trying to beat a dead horse, I suppose.
Yeah. Jordan at XFP. Oh goodness, hang on a second, Jordan. Sorry, mate.
XFPL Mastro.
Is that what that is? Is it?
Yeah.
But it's got an X on the end.
Yeah.
Is it a silent X?
No, the XX is you're not meant to mention them. It's just FPL Mastro.
FPL Maestro. But they're there, aren't they? So it's XFPL Trox. Isn't it? XFPL
Jordan.
Jordan. He agrees Doctor Who had decent Christmas specials, especially the Eccleston and Tennant eras. This is something I'm really looking forward to getting into when me and Dan get over our current jinx and get into recording the Doctor Who pod. I'm a massive Eccleston and Tennant fan. Yes. Everything after that, I kind of drifted in and out of. So it's very interesting because Dan is very much of the New Who era. So that's interesting for me. He's going to pick some New Who stories for us to watch, whereas I'm picking some classic stories for Dan to watch for the first time. So it's going to be quite interesting getting into that sort of dynamic. But yeah, Eccleston and Tennant, I'm a big fan of those, mate.
Yeah, I would have loved for Eccleston to do a second season.
Yeah, I thought he was so good.
Yeah.
Jordan Plastmistrox continues. Favorite Christmas movies: Home Alone 1 and 2. You can't beat them. Home Alone 1, yes, fantastic. 2, it's a bit ropey in it. You get
No,
into
it's
ropey
not.
territory
Home
there.
Alone 2 is the better of the Home Alones.
Oh my goodness, controversial opinion time.
Not really. It's the right opinion.
What do you mean? Not really.
There's nothing controversial about that opinion at all. It is the best of the Home Alones.
Right, they leave him alone once. I get that. Right, I'm not going to say that can happen because I'm a father of 4 kids. Trust me, that would not happen. Right, but at the same time, a second time that he's left alone, that's just that's social services territory. That is, somebody needs calling, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but he isn't left alone. He's lost in New York. He's boarded the wrong plane.
But again, how has that been allowed to happen? Why is his mum watching him?
She
Especially considering he's the youngest.
She did watch him. She just thought that somebody else was him when they were sat on the plane.
You're not defending. She's terrible, man.
Plus, you get Pigeon Lady. Pigeon Lady is the best character in the whole series of the films.
See, if Pigeon Lady is the best character in the series of the films, and she only appears briefly in Home Alone 2, there's something seriously wrong with the parents in both films when they're not outranking someone who's just a bit crazy and hangs around with birds.
The parents are awful, awful people. Don't get me wrong, but Pigeon Lady, she's not only in it a little while. She does scare him at the beginning, and then she teaches him the real meaning of Christmas. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Fair enough.
Plus, Tim Curry's in it as well.
I was going to say you got the scary clown, because that was it, wasn't it?
He was it, yeah.
Yeah, he was it, yeah. Oh, okay. I'll have to rewatch it, but I ain't sure about 2 being better than 1, mate. But again, I'll have to rewatch it.
Well, that's the Corby talking.
Jordan Knox continues. His most hated Christmas movie is Elf. Never been a fan of him. Fair enough.
Plenty of Elf hate in the comments.
There is. Best Christmas TV, the soaps when they were decent. I suppose it depends on which soap and if you're a soap fan, doesn't it? I guess. But EastEnders Christmas Day EastEnders back when I was a kid was a big deal.
Yeah, it started to get boring when it was always something horrible happening at Christmas. And I get that soaps kind of make the money off dealing with horrible storylines because nobody watches a soap to watch happy endings. It's always about the drama. But when it's happening every year, you would not move to a place like Walford, or you would not live on Coronation Street anywhere near Christmas, because something horrific always happens. There's a train crash, or a plane blows up in the middle of a field, or you watch DVDs of your wife and your son getting it on. It's ridiculous.
They're all related, aren't they? Because you got like the Butcher family, aren't you? Who's been knocking around for a while, and the Mitchells been knocking around for a good old while, and the Fowlers, right? Obviously, the other families come and go, but they're all kind of inbred together now, aren't they? Surely by this stage, that tiny little square with like the market, the pub, and the laundrette, they're all of them share the same DNA by this stage. They all do. Because they're all shagging each other. When one cheats on one, they cheat with somebody else that's in the same circle, and everyone's just crossbreeding in there, aren't they? And
then 2-3 months later, they forgive each other, and it's the same cycle, rinse and repeat. And there's always a death. Come Christmas, there's someone always dies. It's a worrying. If you lived in Walford, you would have like one eye looking over his shoulder come early December, like, better keep my wits about me, because otherwise I'm going to end up 6 foot under here. If
you lived in Walford, you'd have one eye looking one way, one eye the other anyway, because you're all inbred. That's why Sonia looks the way she does. Do you know that?
Oh, that's awful.
That's bad. Sonia. Oh, that is terrible. I'm sorry, Sonia.
After you were talking about bullying as well.
She don't watch
bullying
this.
Poor Sonia.
She don't care. She's all right. She's lost a lot of weight recently. Sonia, you're good. She from the neck down, should we say? Anyway. Oh my god, I need to stop. COVID's messed me up, mate. Jordan continues. Worst Christmas TV, Mrs. Brown's Boys. Another vote for Mrs. Brown there.
Isn't there a new one as well this year? I'm sure.
I don't know. Is that
advertised? Yeah, I think so. I'm very looking forward to not watching that.
No, I'll give that a miss maybe. Gavin and Stacey. Sorry, this is from our good buddy Paul Tolly at Rain Counter on Twitter. What we got there, Magsy? Dan Griffin.
Scottish Danny was saying, trust me, he lives near where EastEnders is set. I didn't realise it was set in Maidstone in Kent. But well, apparently it's very accurate. And if there were more inbred in Walford, they would all be sandwiches. And would you like a bigger shovel, sir?
Yeah, maybe. At Rain Counter on Twitter, he says here, our good buddy Paul Tolly, Gavin and Stacey Christmas specials are excellent. Yeah, I agree with that. Gavin and Stacey, it's not something I ever seek out, Gavin and Stacey, but occasionally there's reruns on like UK Gold or something that the wife chucks on, and it does tend to always make me laugh, you know?
Yeah. The only thing about I like Gavin and Stacey, but the only thing about it is it leaves on a cliffhanger when they have no intention of revisiting the show.
Right, yeah.
So at least tie up those loose ends. But other than that minor criticism, yeah, I think they're really funny shows.
Yeah, I enjoy it, mate. I enjoy it. Apart from James Corden, I can't stand him.
I mean, Smith is good, though. James Corden, the person, might be a douchebag, but Smith is good.
Yeah, fair enough. The Office Christmas special is one of the best. Yeah, I can get on board with that. I like that. At the end when Tim and Dawn get together. Fantastic telly that is, mate. Absolutely fantastic TV.
And David Brent finally growing some bollocks when he tells Fincher, why don't you just fuck off?
Yeah, that's great. And the music that's playing in the disco when Dawn comes back in and gives him a kiss. I can't hear that song now without thinking of The Office.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's great. Just fantastic television.
Yeah.
And Paul continues, finally, don't really like Christmas films. They're all a bit crap. So thanks for contributing there, mate.
Cheers for that. That insightful comment there, Mr. Tolle.
Yeah. Someone agrees on Alf, though, Tolly continues. He watched it because everyone said how amazing it is, and it's the best Christmas film, etc. And actually, it was shite and not funny.
Well,
go on.
I get that it's not popular, but there is funny bits in it. I'm on that. I will be happy on that limb alone. It's not a film I'd go out to search for, but I would chuckle along with it if it was on.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good in places, as you said, mate. I'm going to try to be positive, mate. We have something here from Giovanni Van Bernhorst at George B01065217 on Twitter.
Okay.
Says here, Mrs. Brown Boys is about as funny as the swollen testicle I'm currently in hospital with. So strongly agrees with Dan.
I replied to this poor guy as well, and for some reason his tweet's not on this list, but I do remember the tweet. I replied to him.
Yeah, so hopefully we can. You know, it's nice that you're reaching out to the show in this horrible time for you and your testicles, and hopefully that, you know, in a way that The Office makes me think of that one bit of music, hopefully Chain Wrestling doesn't make you think of the swollen testicles going forward. Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter, he says every year he watches the horror film The Stepfather. One scene has a Christmas tree, so I consider it a Christmas movie.
that tickled me. It contained a Christmas tree, so this is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember watching the film. I don't know what it's like, so I'll have to. I mean, Dan is no reason to send us astray, so it must be a good film. Yeah, I can't say I've seen it, but. Yeah, I mean, I might go and try and check it out this Christmas.
Yeah, and because obviously it seems very Christmassy, as Dan says. So
yeah, so I found and props to Dan in the chat for saying it was in a reply to his tweet. Giovanni Van Bernhorst's tweet, he put, Mrs. Brown Boys is funny as a swollen testicle, he's in hospital with. So I replied to him, damn, I hope you recover as soon as possible and that this year's Mrs. Brown Boys special doesn't cause a relapse. And he said, don't make me laugh because it hurts. Poor chap. I mean, he's no problem. There's no worries of being made to laugh whilst watching Mrs. Brown Boys.
Yeah, I was going to say, he'd be all right watching that, wouldn't he? Perhaps that can be your only Christmas viewing, mate. You know, that's what you can settle down with your ice pack on your nutsack and crack on with that, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Danny does continue. Mrs. Brown's Boys is truly madly, deeply hideous comedy. Just the worst. There's so much hate for this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't not agree with him though, because like I said, the BBC one it's woefully unfunny. It really, really is. You should try and source out the Irish ones though.
Okay,
they are a lot better. I think they kind of more, instead of being like a weekly show, they kind of like made for TV movies, but they're not on a set. They're actually out like in the films on proper locations. And he has a lot more leeway with his comedy and his jokes. So yeah, I find them much better. But yeah, the British one, horrific.
No, I don't think I've seen those Irish ones. You know, I'll have to try and find some of that, because it must have been good at some stage because it's got such a following.
Yeah, in Ireland it was massive before it came to the UK. It went on tours of Ireland like every single year, and he made a lot of money from it, and that's what eventually led to him being picked up on British TV. But yeah, it's definitely try and check it out if you can get hold of him.
Yeah, okay, I'll have a look, mate. I'll have a look. Our good buddy Connor, good friend of the show. Connor Knows Stuff on Twitter at Connor Knows Stuff. Scythe Park Christmas specials have a special place in my heart. They were just so fun to watch. And Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo, that is, isn't it?
Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo. I like me, you like you.
Oh, fucking. And you watch these back now, because it was in bad taste at the time, but you watch them back now, and I sit there and I think to myself, oh, for example, Livy, my middle daughter, she's 14. I'd be thinking, our Liv will enjoy this. This would be funny. And she'll walk through. So I'll put it on for her, or I'm walking to the shop and I'll go, watch this. And I'll put it on my phone. And you forget about Mr. Hanky when he's jumping around, leaving splodges of turd on everybody. And I'm watching it and I'm like, this is so much worse than I remember.
And when he goes in people's mouths when they're asleep and all sorts. Yeah.
Yeah, not a good look. Funny though. Connor's
and when he dries up and nearly dies as well.
Yeah.
Because people don't believe in Christmas.
Comment by Sharon there in the chat. Look at that. Spot on.
Howdy ho.
We're going to blatantly be playing a bit of Mr. Hanky the Christmas Poo on the audio version. Just at Good Bad Wrestle, Good Cop, Bad Cop Wrestling Podcast. Good friends of the show. And I'm 100% behind this. I will take no other questions or answers about this. My wife is going to jump on this in the chat and be a pain in my arse, but I don't care. I'm going to ignore it. Clearly, the best Christmas film is Die Hard. Yes, it fucking is. The worst is the 2 new Mrs. Brown specials he heard that we are being subjected to. Not even been on yet.
There's not even 2. I mean, he's from across the pond. How has he heard of a second Christmas special?
So there you go.
He's wept.
It's not even been on yet, and he's putting it forward as some of the worst. But Good Bad Wrestle on Twitter. Yes, Die Hard. In fact, one of my favorite films. I love it. Oh, look at that. The little lighter things moving on the GIF mags.
Yeah, because it's a GIF.
I just see it's just a picture on mine. But then I have screenshotted it, so it wouldn't move on a screenshot, would it?
Oh my God. You're so special. You absolutely are so special.
That's really cool though. Look at that. There's little Zippo things going. Look at that. Don't read it out. Don't bring it up on the screen. Put it away. Sharon, no, I'm not having it.
I may leave that up for the rest of the recording.
For goodness sake.
I won't.
Sharon saying Die Hard is not a Christmas movie in the chat. Not having it. Not having it at all. It is a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie. Not every Christmas movie has to be sunshine and rainbows and glittering lights. It's a movie at Christmas time.
At a Christmas party, Max. It's set at a Christmas party.
It's a Christmas movie.
You don't get, you can't have Christmas parties any other time of the year than Christmas. Otherwise, they're not Christmas parties, are they?
Exactly. It's not set at a birthday party. It's not set at a bar mitzvah. It's not even set at a wake. It's set at a Christmas party. It's a Christmas movie.
There we go. At Total Stevo on Twitter, good friend of the show, Stevo. He says here, so the Office Christmas specials were sublime, ending the whole show perfectly. And he's spot on. That's how you end a TV show, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Everything's all tied up nicely. There's no cliffhangers. It's just brilliant television. Absolutely fun. Yeah. I know a lot of people prefer the US version.
No.
See, I really like the US version. Really, really like the US version.
I've tried. I've really have tried to get into it, and I just can't.
You need to watch past season 1 though, because that's when it gets good.
Okay, I'm not going to do that.
Brilliant. All right, we'll just stop talking about it. So that's the way you're going to be. But the English version is good. I mean, I know a lot of people can't stand the guy. Ricky Gervais is just fantastic for me. I think he's so good.
I think he's. And I love his kind of mentality of only doing 2 to 3 seasons of a show before moving on. Doesn't get himself typecast. Does a show doesn't outstay its welcome. Leaves the audience wanting more, which is what a show like that should do. And all his work is so diverse as well, and it shows he's very underrated in terms of acting chops.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. The Simpsons Christmas specials, Steve continues. He found too serious and dark, tackling family issues in a non-humored way. I can't think offhand any examples, but do know they did nothing for me. Okay, that's quite interesting, because obviously the Simpsons, I mean, Steve-O's a massive Simpsons fan, you know, as in like fanatical Simpsons fan, the same as he is with the Bill and so on. So there's obvious reasons for him to be saying that. I can't think of any Christmas specials off the top of my head myself for the Simpsons, though.
No, I've always known them to be more Halloween specials when they do special episodes. But if Steve-O is not happy with the Simpsons Christmas specials, then they must be wank.
Yeah, I'll take Steve-O's opinion above my own memories every time, mate, to be fair.
That's a mantra to live by.
Well, yeah. Steve-O continues. Jingle All the Way is a brilliant movie, and of course it features The Big Show. I've never seen that.
So Jingle All the Way, that's the one with Turbo Man, I think, in it, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he's trying to get the Turbo Man Christmas toy, and he ends up being Turbo Man.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of rings a bell.
Mm-hmm. It's all right. It's not brilliant. So now I'm going back on what I said. Don't believe what Steve-O says. It's not a brilliant movie at all.
Steve-O does continue, though. Home Alone is a fantastic set of films, but anyone who thinks Home Alone 2 is the best is a moron.
No, I mean, fantastic.
No, Steve-O, that last bit he didn't put, I added that in just myself.
The fantastic set of films, though. 2 of the films are good. 3 onwards, I wouldn't wish them on my worst enemy.
How many did they make?
I think there's 5 altogether.
Is there really that many?
Yeah, only 2 of them have Macaulay in them.
I was going to say, because surely how long it takes to turn around a film, a good couple of years, promote it and so on, then start filming.
He's 30.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, will you please leave me at home this year?
He's in his 20s in his flat, and his mum just turns up at Christmas Day lunchtime like, I've left you alone again. It's like, yeah, I haven't seen you for 3 weeks, you bitch. Why is they any different? You know, it's eat your Sprouts. Fuck off, mum. You know. Die Hard, Steve-O continues. Not a family fun affair. I beg to differ. But not Die Hard, not a family fun affair. But as it's set around Christmas, it's one of my favorite Christmas films. Oh yes, Steve-O, 100%. Totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Steve-O continues again. Of course, The Bill did a few Xmas episodes. They were always fun. The actors let loose, and the storylines were silly, but amusing and had heart to them, which is nice. Okay. I mean, again, Steve-O put forward I suppose in a similar way to like my Quantum Leap fandom, I guess Steve-O has The Bill, which is a show he's very fanatical about. And Steve-O makes me want to check out some of these storylines he discusses and so on. So I put forward Steve-O's opinion of The Bill above anything else to do with that show off the top of my head, to be fair. So
yeah, on The Bill and The Simpsons, I will revert to Steve-O. On Jingle All the Way, not so much.
Fair enough. On Die Hard, I agree with Steve-O. Other than that, Steve-O says, I don't go out of my way to watch Christmas-specific films. It's predominantly been if it's been featured in a TV show I watch. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
Ironically, he mentioned more Christmas programming than anyone else who replied, but he doesn't go out of his way to watch that Christmas programming. No. Brilliant.
No, that's it. So it just pops up that randomly all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it from Twitter, mate, this week. That's all we got. So unless there's any that I've missed, but I don't think so.
No, I think you've nailed them all. And some great answers there from the CWF. Getting some more in the comments. Dan Griffin saying American Dad Christmas specials are always fun. Another show that I've never really got into. That's the one with the alien that lives with the president, isn't it?
I do like American Dad. It does make me laugh.
And Scottish Danny said, "Can't believe I forgot to mention Bottom's Christmas special." Your Bottom was hilarious.
So good when he makes Christmas dinner, and he's got the fella from the Young Ones and the big guy come round. So it's Dave Hedgehog and I can't remember the other guy. I can't remember his name, but it's Dave Hedgehog and the other guy.
I can't remember his name, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
And he dishes up the food and breaks the plates for it. So so good. Rick Mail, man. Absolutely. Just gold. Just absolute gold.
Yeah. Dan Griffin in the chat saying, was Die Hard set at a Christmas party or was it a work meeting with wine and cheese that went on till 2 a.m. at Downing Street? Politics.
Yeah, see, if it was set at Downing Street and so on.
Spud Gun,
that's the guy. Dave Hedgehog and well done, Danny. If it was set at Downing Street, I imagine it'd be a lot more difficult for John McClane to solve that problem because the people being held hostage and the other people in the room are all going to be effectively terrorists, aren't they? Because they're all from the Conservative Party.
Correct. I can't.
Controversial satire.
I can't wait for Brexit the movie. I think that's going to be an outstanding movie.
That Bruce Willis in it, do you reckon? Who would Bruce Willis play?
He would be Dominic Cummings.
Yeah.
Driving to Barnard Castle to test his ass out.
Yeah. And you could have that guy off Mock the Week with the crazy hair. He could play Boris, couldn't he? Just dye his hair blonde. Was Milton Jones?
Milton Jones.
He could be Boris, couldn't he?
I mean, Boris would have to be less funny, I suppose.
Mm. But that's why it's called acting, Maxler.
Brilliant.
Because you pretend, you see. Maxie, what about you, mate? Any Christmas TV shows or specials or anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of my favourites have been mentioned. Gavin and Stacey, I think, is really, really funny. I'm surprised we didn't get any love for Bad Santa. I think that's a brilliant Christmas film.
I've not seen that.
Oh, it's about, I think he's called Billy Bob Thornton, the actor. Used to be married.
He's the weirdo. You had that bit of. Is he the one who used to carry around the blood in his necklace?
Yeah, with Angelina Jolie. He's kind of a safe cracker / bank robber, and he's got a little person friend who plays the elf, and every Christmas they go to different shopping malls and essentially rob the safes, all under the pretense of being a Santa and an elf.
Brilliant.
But they go to this one town where they end up hijacking a house of somebody to stay in, and that person's the kids lives with his grandma, but she's crazy, and his mum and dad have left, and he's called Sherman Merman. Thurman Merman. It's just, honestly, it's hilarious.
Sparky plug.
Yeah, and he's just the epitome of a bad Santa. He pisses himself, he gets drunk, he causes farts, he catches STDs from someone who is not Merry Christmas. Yeah, it's hilarious. He steals the kids' advent calendars and replaces the sweets with candy corn. Yeah, it's brilliant.
I'm going to have to watch it, mate. I'm going to have to watch it. That does sound good. That bloke's a bit weird, though, isn't he, with all the blood thing and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, he's a good actor, though.
What else was he in that I'd seen here? He was in a film with Halle Berry, wasn't he? What was that, Monsters Ball?
Yeah. I think it was either that when he was the rapist. Is it that one?
I don't know, actually. You think I'd remember that?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, on that sour note, in terms of TV programs, I'm surprised this one didn't get a mention. Knowing how British centric our CWF are, the Royal Family. Now that to me is a show that has never ever done a bad Christmas special. I love every single episode of those specials. Yeah, the Royal Family is just class, absolute class.
Yeah, no, that is brilliant. Really, really. Again, I suppose it's a British thing, isn't it? You don't make too many episodes, and it's, I suppose, Bottom, Royal Family, and we said about the original Office. was it 6 to 8 episodes a season, and a couple of seasons and they're done, sort of thing.
Yeah,
It kind
I
of,
think it's 6 episodes.
yeah, it kind of leaves you wanting more all the time, doesn't it? Whereas a lot of these American programs, they do like 25 episodes, don't they, and then run for years and years and years.
Well, I was having a pretty similar conversation yesterday with Mrs. Mags. So we binged The Witcher season 2 this week.
Okay.
It's a Netflix show. You probably, if you haven't heard of it, you need to watch it. It's absolutely.
I've seen it. I've not seen the program, but I've seen The Witcher when I open Netflix up. It says The Witcher, and then like a preview starts playing, and that gets on my nerves. Why have they got to do that? Why can't they just there's The Witcher sound, and let me find the program I want, right? Rather than all of a sudden a program I don't know starts shouting at me through the speakers on my laptop, especially when I'm poorly. That made me jump.
Wow, you absolute cranky arsehole.
Well, that's poorly, Mags.
So yeah, we watched The Witcher this week, and it feels good that you have all the access to all the season, but then you watch the last one, and you get that kind of buyer's remorse almost, where you know you're gonna have to wait 2 years or however long it takes to make the next season, and you think, fuck. If this could have just spread out, maybe over that, maybe weekly, it could have got to the point where they may already been making the next one by the time I've watched this. But no, greedy guts has to watch them all in one sitting and ruin it for myself. And I blame Netflix. It's Netflix's fault.
See, there's something really. It's a real special feeling, isn't it, when you find a new season to watch, a new program to watch, and you click on it and you think, well, that was actually really good. And then you look it up and you find there's already been like 7 seasons made of it, with like 25 episodes, and it didn't end on a cliffhanger or it's not been cancelled at the wrong time. That's a special moment, that is.
I mean, but on the other side of the coin, when you fan said series and you really get into it and you finish the first series and then you go, when's the next one out? And you find out it's been cancelled.
Yeah, it was cancelled like 2 years ago.
And you're not getting the next one. And you think, well, that was a waste of 20 hours of my life. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. It's changed the way we watch television altogether, hasn't it? Streaming, so the only thing Christmas-wise that didn't get mentioned that really sort of stands out to me now is the Bill Murray film Scrooged. I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Oh, that is a brilliant shout.
That's a brilliant film.
Yeah.
And Bill Murray's fantastic anyway. I love Bill Murray, but that program, so that film is so good.
I agree. Good shout.
If anyone's not seen that, they should go check it out. 100%. Okay, Maxie. Before we get on to our our wrestling topic today, shall we have a quick check to see if anything interesting is going on in the chat, and then we'll talk a bit of graps, mate.
Yes, let's do. So, Dan, when you said Milton Jones for playing Boris, he says just shove a mop. I can't even read this without laughing. Shove
a mop through a ham for Boris.
Dan, you have broke me. Dan has broke me. Looks right and about as much use. Jesus Christ.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Scottish Daddy, when he was the rapist, in quotation marks. That's the title of the next episode. Dan Griffin.
I don't think it should be.
We've had an episode called "You Can't Arrest Somebody for naming strangers cocks." So,
yep, very true.
I am ashamed because Royal Family Christmas episodes are so good. And when Denise tries to cook the Christmas dinner, that was one I actually watched pretty recently, where they all got essentially crushed carrots, and the most watery gravy known to man as food. It's horrific. The turkey is absolutely still frozen raw. It's brilliant. Dan Griffin said we had a real life version of when the neighbour brought the urn to the Christmas dinner in my family. Jesus Christ, that sounds horrific. Sharon says she wants to watch The Witcher because Henry Cavill looks amazing. I don't think there has been a person who is perfectly fitted for a role as Henry Cavill. He's so good as Geralt of Rivia. Great casting.
Everything you just said then sounded as bad as Jordan's Twitter handle. That made no sense to me.
Henry Cavill, the guy who played Superman.
I thought the guy who played Keanu Reeves. Not Keanu Reeves. It was the guy.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, Christopher Reeves.
Keanu Reeves as Superman. Jesus Christ.
But Keanu Reeves could do Superman, couldn't he?
Oh, and that's another thing. The Matrix 4 is out soon, and that looks absolutely amazing. And that's coming out
Matrix. I've seen
on Boxing Day. Brilliant. Dan Griffin, please tell me his first name was Paul. Yeah, Paul Bearer. Oh yeah, Merry Christmas, one and all.
Yeah.
Dan Griffin, even I fancy Henry Cavill, the big sexy nerd, and he's such a nerd as well. The Witcher obviously is based off some books. It's also based off video games as well. And he knows everything there is to know about the Witcher series. So he actually, I think he petitioned for the part because he was such a massive fan of the Witcher series of books. And obviously got the part, and yeah, he's perfectly picked. Okay. Sharon is saying this is why you and her don't watch the latest series, because you hate waiting.
Yeah, waiting sucks, mate.
It does. It absolutely does. Scottish Danny saying, no, it was his uncle's father-in-law. Oh, no, Dan Griffin saying, no, it was his uncle's father-in-law, Bob, that brought his wife's ashes. That can't be real. He hasn't.
Wife's ashes to Christmas dinner.
That's. I wouldn't invite Bob again.
No, I'd be like, sorry, Bob, there's not enough seats.
Yeah, I've only got one spare seat available, so you and your wife obviously can't come. And he fits it. The best part of the Ern story was his uncle and cousin's husband arguing in the pub on Christmas Day because they didn't want to sit next to the Ern. Now, but after about 4 or 5 pints, you would want to sit next to the Ern to kind of start pranking, I suppose.
It'd be all right if you still smoked, wouldn't it? You'd use an ashtray.
Just peel the lid off like that and then flick.
We have a cigar at Christmas, like, when I used to still smoke cigarettes, you could use that. Maybe a Christmas cigar. You could, saves on the guy at the back, doesn't it?
Exactly. Dan Griffin saying, yes, he brought me. You absolutely did. You evil human being. Sharon says you watched.
That Henry Cavill fella, on Graham Norton the other week. Yeah, she's right. I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was talking about painting the little World of Warcraft figures. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a proper full-on nerd. He's the king of us nerds.
I know who he is now.
Matt Willis joining late, as per usual.
Evening, Matt. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, and Dan, it was after 4 or 5 parts that they started arguing, and we'll leave it on this one. This is a wrestling podcast, so says Sharon Powell.
She is right. It is a wrestling podcast. Magsy, shall we get to talking a little bit of wrestling?
Yes, we shall. Let me find the button for the audio. There we go.
Let's get ready to rumble!
So then, what won our poll many weeks ago, Magsy?
Months ago, it seems.
Before COVID destroyed me, we had a poll. Well, that's what's about a quick bit of context, because I actually changed my selection, didn't I, on the poll? And the reason for that was, again, I suppose it comes back to people on Twitter and the internet wrestling community being full of assholes. The selection I put forward was Jeff Hardy winning his first world championship at Armageddon. Was it 08, Mags, or 09? It was around that sort of time, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. We put that forward. And then between the live show and the podcast version coming out and the poll being posted, the news of Jeff Hardy walking out of a match and then being offered help, rehab, which he then turned down, and being released and so on, broke pretty much the same day that the poll would normally come out. So I kind of got a little bit concerned at having seen a few other people tweet about Jeff Hardy and other people comment on that, basically saying you're using Jeff Hardy's name to get views, or you're using Jeff Hardy's name to get retweets or numbers and so on. And I just kind of thought, I've not got the energy to fight with these idiots. This week we'll just change the one selection. It's easily done. The poll hasn't gone up just yet, and we will, put forward that match and revisit it again sometime in the future. It was just unfortunate timing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's bad that you have to have that mindset that you need to kind of cover all bases when it comes to the wrestling social media, because, like you said, you had to preempt the fact that they would jump on you for claiming to be jumping on the Hardy bandwagon, which absolutely wasn't the case at all. And I hope that match does get on a poll again. I hope that match does get watched on the show, because I think it's a great match. It's just a bad timing with the news dropping, I suppose, of Jeff Hardy and his release.
And it was literally that day it all sort of coincided together. I was also very poorly, so I don't know whether that took an effect on me as well. I kind of thought, I can't be bothered fighting with these idiots. Even if it happened, it may not happen. Nothing could have come of it. I don't know, but that's just kind of why I sort of put to Mags that let's change this up a little bit, and so we went from there. So I sort of used Mags's own link and then stuck an extra bit on the end to select War Games 92, but it was beaten out, and I'm kind of glad, because my option wasn't an original one, that it was beaten out by Mags's option of War Games 91, Magsy.
A match that we've actually covered before in an episode of the SJP Wrestling Podcast,
episode 1,
where
episode number 1,
where we covered plenty of War Games.
We did.
So it was good to kind of revisit this, because I remember saying at the time that I hadn't watched a lot of these old War Games, so these were relatively new to me. Obviously, this was your bread and butter. So yeah, it was cool to revisit a match that you essentially introduced me to.
Yeah, and it's got so many things that I love. So many. Just the way that the place is set out. You got Jim Ross on commentary, which is always brilliant. Tony Schiavone doing ring announcing duties, bit of a miss for me. I'm not gonna lie.
And the audio was very early AEW levels.
Yeah, it's a bit wobbly, isn't it? But you got Surfer Sting, you got Larry Zbyszko, you got Sid, you got Flair, you got the wrestling god Barry Windham. You got so much that you got the Steiners pre-Big Popper Pump and all that sort of stuff. It just brilliant. And War Games done properly. It's shoddy, it's dirty, it's rough on the edges.
Oh, it's definitely shoddy. Let's not get that mixed up. But we will get into that.
Well, yeah, let's begin. The first thing that you notice when you put the match on, in true WCW style, it's coming down, the music's playing, the suspense is being built. They've got a camera from further back. Fireworks go off from the cage, which always looks dramatic. And what happens, Max?
It gets trapped on the post and folds in half almost. It's brilliant.
Oh.
So Mrs. Mags watched the beginning of it with me, and she was there watching it, and she's like, "Oh, is there 2 rings? That's a huge case. This looks interesting." And then the cage gets caught on the post. She's like, "That's falling to bits. That is going to collapse." I'm like, no, it's fine. They're going to essentially tie it up. But yeah, it does look like it's falling to bits. It's brilliant.
And it's awesome as well, because if that was WWE, even in 91, especially now, even in 91, if that happens, they cut away. They go to the crowd. They go back to Jim Ross on in WCW. Nah, fuck that. Let's carry on showing how much we're screwing up. Let's put some flashing lights on and draw attention to this huge mistake we're currently making.
Yeah, it's so tacky, but it's brilliant. Yeah. But I actually, like I said, this was only the second time I've watched this. I've never watched the full pay-per-view, so I wanted to get a little bit of context. So I rewound the network a little bit, and I got to the point where Jim Ross is doing the interview just before this match, and I think it's after the tag title match. I think it's Doom versus the Freebirds.
Yeah.
And Jim Ross is
a good time, isn't it? Doom the Free. Oh, so good.
So you have Jim Ross, and then you've got Dusty Rhodes, and you've got this little fan, and Jim's talking to this fan, and he says, "Who's your favorite tag team?" And the kid just goes, "Doom," even though they've just lost.
Yeah.
And I think they actually split up after this match as well. So his favorite tag team is just kick the bucket, and he's like, "My favorite tag team do," and he's like quickly ushing away, and Dusty Rhodes is like, "For fuck's sake." But we do get a little bit of kind of like context to the match, because it's if you don't know the backstory, which I didn't, you kind of don't understand why Larry Zbyszko is with the Horseman when he's been on and off one of the rivals of him. So you do get a little bit of a context of why he's in the match. And they really kind of build up Brian Pillman as the David and Goliath in this fight, the plucky young upstart. He'd been beat up by the Horseman in the pre-match. Obviously, he has all the shoulder taped up. So yeah, you do get like a little bit of context there, and then you get a cage that looks like it's made out of tinfoil.
Yeah, it's not a good look, is it? It's not.
It's not, and it's so dingy as well. So dingy.
Yeah, I don't mind how dingy it is, because that's kind of what I kind of look at with. I mean, this is 1991, so it's not the old days of the NWA by any stretch of the imagination, or the territories or anything like that. They're a bloody big company at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look across on the other channel, everything is bright and colourful and cartoony, and the WWF is all singing or dancing. That's why I kind of like the WCW side, with it being a bit dingy and a bit rough around the edges. Because to me, it feels more, especially as a kid, it felt more real. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And before we actually get into the match, I read a little bit of what Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and he thinks that this match was one of the best matches he's ever seen live. And he also in the same issue of the newsletter, that show got, I think it was nearly unanimous thumbs up, to the point where Dave said it was actually the third highest rated event in the history of the magazine. I think there was only 1989's WrestleWar and then 1989's Clash of the Champions that had beat it up to that point. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot of love for not only this match but for this show in general.
Yeah, and I suppose War Games, I mean, as we covered on that episode of SJP Mags, around this time you see War Games, to me it does really affect the undercard of the shows, but in a negative fashion, because I mean the following year, to me, that is the best War Games match of all time. War Games 92. You got Sting Squadron versus Dangerous Alliance. And that's 5-on-5. And pretty much every major feud on television goes into the War Games match. So Steamboat is in a feud with something that's going to escape my mind now, but Arn Anderson and Eaton and Zbyszko are involved with some of the guys from Sting Squadron. Rick Rude is involved with Dustin Rhodes and Steamboat. Sting is involved with, and so on. So the two groups are very much a gang of feuding teams. They're two different feuding teams, which is brilliant for that match. But it really affects the undercard. It really takes away, from the matches underneath. Yeah,
there's no. They're almost thrown together matches because there's no build up to those matches because everything's been focused on what's going into this War Games match.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. We start with the wrestling god Barry Windham and the young upstart, as you described him, Magsy, the plucky underdog Brian Pillman. But he jumps in the ring early on, doesn't he, against the protest of his team captain, the gloriously colourful Surfer Sting,
the American Surfer Sting.
Yeah, because of course he's fighting against an anti-American team full of Americans. I'm assuming. I don't know. Because WCW, I don't know. Yeah, Pillman runs in, injury and all, and starts scrapping away with Barry Windham. And Windham starts bleeding very early, and it looks nasty, doesn't it? It's not a sort of blade job from the front of the head that you kind of get as normal. It's to the side. Windham's wailing away and screaming and so on. And to me, Pillman is fantastic. We know how much of a Windham fan I am. This opening couple of minutes is brilliant.
It is, apart from one minor issue that I got with it, and it happened pretty much straight away. It's there was a little bit of miscommunication maybe, but there's a point where Windham throws Pillman into the ropes, and then he drops down, and then Pillman does a kind of flying body press, even though Wyndham is already down on the floor. That kind of it starts it off on a bad moment, but it quickly makes up for it. Like I said, the going straight away for the blood makes the match seem like a proper fight. You see Pillman almost cheese grating Wyndham's head on the fencing, and it looks really, really brutal. Like and with the blood, I think Flair bleeds later on in the show. Yeah, it really looks hideous.
Yeah, totally. To me, that's how war games should look. It should look dark, dingy, hideous, covered in blood, dangerous, and so on. Ric Flair's in next, and obviously the heels have won the coin toss to get the numerical advantage,
which makes sense. It should happen every single time.
It should. I mean, I don't understand. What is it? A good 5-6 years the Horsemen didn't lose a coin toss for. I mean, you want them picking your lottery numbers, wouldn't you? They won every coin toss. JJ Dillon's the luckiest man. He's not around in this War Games, granted, but every single War Games match they had, the Horsemen won the coin toss. Fair play.
Yeah, in this one, we've got Arn Anderson who can't be in the match due to, I'm assuming, injury.
Yes,
he looks exactly like the Arn Anderson of now.
Yeah.
If he instead of having a WCW crew t-shirt on, if he had a Nightmare Family logo over that, you couldn't tell him different to the one that comes out with Cody every week. The guy's never aged. He's looked about 45 for 45 years.
Yeah, exactly. You look at footage of when he was just Marty Lundy, or in the days before going across to Georgia, and he was wrestling under what's closer to his real name, and before he even became an Anderson, he looks the same as he does now.
Yeah,
it's
just like a balding, bearded barrel.
Exactly. I mean, you got to think some of these famous clips of him cutting these promos with Tully Blanchard and the Horseman and JJ Dillon on Mid-Atlantic Television or World Championship Wrestling, the Jim Crockett Promotions TV in like 85, 86 and so on. He's in his 20s, but he looks 45.
It's mental.
It's funny, man. It's so funny. And something else that surprises me here as well. Obviously, we've got Pillman and Wyndham starting the match. Then Flair comes in, and Flair's obviously Ric Flair. It's a big deal. Flair's in the match this early. Sting's next in.
Yep.
So straight away, you've got effectively the two captains in already.
I mean, it kind of circumvents the predictability, I suppose, of a War Games, because we would normally see the big stars be the last people in. But this kind of shows you that anything goes in these kind of matches, and it was almost like chess moves. Flair was going into to really kind of put a beating on Brian Pillman, so that's when Sting used his move for him to get into the ring rather than one of the standards, because he was in the feud with Flair. It makes sense when you think about it, but it's that kind of chess move mentality that the both teams have.
Yeah, I agree. And it's at this point when Sting enters that I finally do decide Tony Schiavone's annoying me here. He's counting down.
That is something as well that I mentioned to Mrs. Maggs. He's counting is not consistent. Like with one entrant, he'll say 1 minute to go, and then 30 seconds to go, and then 15 seconds to go, and then he'll just leave it.
Yeah,
and then the next one will go, oh, by the way, this one will be in 10 seconds. And you're like, come on, Tony.
And
give us a little bit of consistency.
And it's so annoying. So irritating by this stage. And also, I understand why they do it. It's the same as when Howard Finkel used to do it for the Royal Rumble as well, when they run through the rules of the match before the match starts.
So convoluted.
Oh my God, why do they need just
two whole screens of rules for a match? Yeah. 2 whole screens, and they go through the same scenario multiple times. There'll be a 2-minute period when this team will win a coin toss and they'll be able to send their member in. And then they'll keep going until 8 are in. But no, they go, then once that person's in, there'll be another 2-minute period, and the other team can send one in, meaning it's a 2-on-2. And then once that 2-minute period's finished, they can then send another person in, meaning it's now 3-on-2. No, you didn't need all that
every single one, don't they?
That is annoying. Like I said, 2 pages of screens to give the rules. We didn't need that.
No. We did not at all. We did not at all.
Come well away from the match, though.
Well, Sting effectively cleans house here, doesn't he? He goes in as you'd want him to. He goes in, does the whole beating of his chest. We see a Stinger splash. He's knocking people over all over the place with clotheslines.
And that Stinger splash, obviously, with the cage is really kind of tight against the ring. There's no kind of like nowadays in WWE, the Hell in a Cell is usually set back, so there's like an area you can walk around the ring. That's
because they don't do it properly.
Well, that's by the by. But Stinger does the splash, and he very nearly headbutts both the post and the cage. Very, very close. He almost has to arch his neck so he doesn't
impale himself.
Yeah, exactly.
So just calm down, Sting. Just ease off a little bit, mate. You're gonna do yourself a mischief, ain't you? Larry Zbyszko comes in, and then Rick Steiner is next in as well. By this stage, as you said, Mags, there's blood everywhere. Flair's naturally bleeding because he's coughed, which was obviously split his forehead open or something. I don't know. And it's a messy brawl at this stage, but there's always something going on. It's not like these multi-man matches you see more so nowadays where people kind of take it in turns and people sit on the outside or they go over to the corners or the ropes and have a bit of a breather or somebody gets their spots in. This feels like a real fight as opposed to a spot fest because everyone's scrapping. And eventually we get Barry Windham going for a pinfall cover on Brian Pillman. And
Even though it's been specifically stated, pins, disqualifications and countouts have no bearing on this match.
Silly Barry. Silly. I just think that Windham is so clued up and knows exactly what he's doing. He's testing the referees. That's all he's doing.
Yeah,
and he's not made a mistake there, not Barry Windham.
And in fact, one of the rules that Tony mentions kind of telegraphs the ending. I mean, we'll get to the ending, obviously, but he mentions a rule where the referee's decision, when it pertains to the result, is final. Which kind of makes you think, why are you signaling that out? Why are you kind of like putting that out there in the ether? Especially when you've said it's a submit or knockout
surrender,
or whatever. Submit or surrender.
And that's it. That's the only way you can win war games. They keep hammering that, don't they? Until now. Until
this very one where they say, but the ref has final say, meaning you cannot overrule him, which we eventually will get to.
Yeah, ridiculous. We get a whole big bunch of figure 4 leg locks, don't we? Everyone applies a figure 4, which I got a bit of a kick out of. I enjoyed that. That was quite cool. I don't normally really enjoy spots like that, but because I didn't remember this happening from when I watched it previously, when it did happen, I was like, oh, that was quite cool.
Yeah, it was. Then we see the biggest guy in the match come in, Sid Vicious.
Yeah.
And we kind of then realized that maybe the cage isn't big enough.
Well, there's one moment where Sting is pressing Ric Flair above his head, and that kind of works to his advantage, the cage being like that, because that was a cool visual for me.
Where he's slamming Flair into the roof.
The roof of the cage, yeah. That was a really cool visual. I really enjoyed that. But it goes from being a really cool visual to quite the hindrance very quickly, Max, doesn't it? Do you want to run through what happens to our poor friend Brian?
Well, before that, obviously, before we get to the end, obviously Sid Vicious is pretty much the same size as the cage. Yeah. He spends the majority of the match kind of scooted down because his pouffant poodle style hair is
super noodle hair.
Yeah, he's grazing the top of the cage. So then the last guy comes in, Scott Steiner. And one thing I found weird was the referee was holding Scott back with a very tender little hug around his waist. I didn't notice that on the first watch through, but yeah, I noticed it this time. And it's like, it looked weird, but they let him in the cage, and then we start kind of like them building to the finish. Everybody's just absolutely beating the living piss out of each other. Brian Pillman has been absolutely superb, kind of like as the plucky underdog. Never say die, takes a licking and keeps on ticking, kind of a wrestler. But yeah, then we get.
I've never heard that before.
What takes a licking and keeps on ticking?
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Okay, so
I'm stealing that. I'm using that myself.
but yes, essentially we all know what Sid's kind of finish is. He is the master of the powerbomb.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is when he is the size of the cage and the roof is above his head. When he goes to powerbomb somebody, they have to go through the roof essentially. So what happens is Brian kind of slams into the roof, and then he's slammed into the canvas, catches his feet a couple of times, dropped clearly on his neck, which
it's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is a guy who obviously had he was playing up to the shoulder injury, but in real life he had a lot of kind of niggling injuries all the way throughout his career. So yeah, he gets demolished essentially by Sid Vicious, to the point where and this is where Nick Patrick comes into play. Giant Gonzalez. Gonzalez.
I'll tell you what's weird about that as well, Maxie. Right. First of all, obviously Sid nearly kills Pillman. If you've not seen that powerbomb spot, go and seek it out. It is terrible. He then decides, okay, so the first one didn't go well. I'll just do it again.
Yeah, I've just nearly killed a man.
Yeah.
My bad. I'll do it properly this time, I promise.
Yeah. And then El Gigante, or El Gigante, however you pronounce it, Giant Gonzalez, basically in WWF, comes down to the ring. And first of all, it's weird seeing this dude anyway, because he's just a weird looking fella. But what adds to the weirdness is the fucker's running.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever seen a guy that gangly? He looks like a daddy longlegs in some kind of wrestling gear. Run. That was so. I thought his knees were going to pop out of his skin at one stage, you know, or his ankles were just going to double over. Or oh my god! It's like people like that shouldn't be able to run, surely.
And especially if you compare him to his run in WWF. Where he was a slow, lumbering kind of foil for Undertaker. Seeing him run is an absolute shock, and seeing him with no facial hair is an absolute shock as well. But yeah, he comes in. I have no idea why. I have not got the context
of Pillman, isn't he? I mean, he's mates with Pillman, and he's supposed to be. They're trying to push him as this big babyface star. They want him to be like their Andre the Giant. But it is already going very, very wrong. Because the guy can't speak English for a start. So there's no way. I'm guessing there's not many people backstage who can communicate with an Argentine basketball player one-on-one, you know? So the guy can't speak English. He can't wrestle. He just can't. And they're trying to push him as this massive superstar. He's been in a couple of tag matches to try and hide his shortcomings. But even then, you're looking at him and you're thinking, yeah, you don't really belong in this world, my friend. Yeah. You know?
You are just a sideshow in wrestling. You are an attraction, I suppose.
He was very young as well, mind. He was very, very young because he died in his 40s.
Yeah.
And and so here he must have been in his 20s, I would guess. You know, very, very young. He comes to the country, doesn't speak the language, has no pro wrestling training whatsoever. They've literally looked at this dude and gone, "You're fucking massive. Come here, have a go at this."
Yeah, exactly. Can you run? Not really. Well, you'll do for us.
And he runs down to the ring, doesn't he? Like, really determined, really like, I'm gonna get in there. I gotta get in there and fight. And he looks like he's gonna have a scrap with everybody. But whoever's booked this has obviously got this part right. Because when he gets in the ring, he doesn't scrap with anyone. He just stops what he's doing and goes, "We need to stop this, I think, because Brian Pillman's fucking dead."
Yeah, you know? and you mentioned about the cameras not cutting away from the collapsing cage. The camera doesn't cut away from him and Brian having a conversation whilst Brian is meant to be dead. And it's essentially, "Are you all right, Brian?" "No, he's fucking trying to kill me and get me out of here quick before he does it again." So El Gigante attempts to get Brian out of the cage. Brian very kindly puts his arms under the ropes and positions him so he can be dragged out, and he's carried from the arena like a little baby in the giant arms of El Gigante. And then the match just stops. We get word from Nick Patrick, who comes over to talk to Jim Ross and Dusty to say, yeah, the match is over. Brian Pillman couldn't continue. I've called it. Got a problem with it. Tough titties. But
yeah, it's so strange because they press all the way through, don't they? Submission or surrender. That is it. Yes. One of the competitors must submit or surrender. So you've got this lanky basketball player come to the ring and say, yeah, we got to stop the match. And the ref's like, do you know what? Actually, I'm going to go with this fella. He looks like he knows what he's on about. You know?
And if I say no to him, he's probably just going to dunk me on the head and I'm going to go 6 foot under the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, just absolutely. The finish is nonsense, mate, isn't it? The finish is nonsense.
But the action in between the ropey start with the flying crossbody and the inexplicable massive Argentinian basketball player ending a match, the bit in the middle was really, really good brawling.
Yeah, exactly. It's war games how war games should be done for me. War game, this one, and 92, and a few in the 80s, gold. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, great stuff. I agree. So, Magsy, out of 10?
Right. So, Dave, like I said, he thinks it's one of the best shows that's ever happened in the history of wrestling. And I think we mentioned on the last recording that this was the only Scott Steiner match that has 5 stars. It's also the only Brian Pillman match that has 5 stars. I don't think it's a 5-star match because of the mess up at the beginning and the wonky finish. But I had fun watching it. I really did have fun watching it. Watching classic Flair doing all those classic kind of flops and the whole war he had throughout his career with Sting. Barry Windham is superb. Brian Pillman is really good, and even Sid, who essentially kills a man in the match, even he's pretty good. Even he's pretty good in this match. So yeah, I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna happily go with an 8 on this one.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm gone for an 8 as well, mate.
Oh well.
I'm gone for an 8 as well. See, I've gone. I've really enjoyed it. It's right in my wheelhouse, man. WCW 1991. It's just before Flair leaves. I mean, to be fair, you look through who's in this match. Quite a few of them are gone relatively quick. The Steiners are in WWF fairly soon. Flair's gone. You know, quite a few of them sort of jump ship around this time.
And Giant Gonzalez goes.
Oh god, yeah, he's about a year later he departs. Then oh yeah, that's not. The more we discuss that, the more it makes me shudder. But to me, the best war games of all time. I mean, we got Matt Willis in the chat there, and he gives a shout for the Undisputed Era versus Team Ciampa as being very good. And yes, it is. It is absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed that match. I enjoyed watching it back in the past as well. But to me, war games needs a roof. Just because what I grew up watching and the tradition of war games, it had a roof, and that's what set it aside. 2 cages with a roof and so on. To me, the best war games of all time is 92. So this one I can't give too high a mark, because if we ever look at 92, that one's got to come in higher. So yeah, an 8 out of 10 for me. I think works quite well. Would have been higher if it wasn't for the basketball player being a lunatic at the end, shall we say.
It's just a ridiculous finish. Ridiculous. But a great match to watch. You've killed Brian.
He ain't flying no more.
Walking Brian Pillman.
Limping Pillman. Oh, so then, Mags. So then, for our special Christmas episode next week on the 27th of December, we decided, didn't we, that we were going to try and link to Christmas-themed matches, whether they took place on or around Christmas, or they have a Christmas theme or whatever, because next week is our Christmas special, so we should, in theory, do something Christmassy. What have you got for us, Mags?
Oh, now, this was a tough ask, because I want to keep up the traditions of the chain, so they have to have some sort of link to the previous match. But linking this match to Christmas, yeah, it took a little bit of a stretch, but I got there. I think I got there. So War Games in this iteration, and even in the iteration that we have now, it tends to revolve around at least one faction. Back in the 90s, it was usually the Forcemen. The current one, it was up to this year's, it was all about the Undisputed Era. And I'm a massive lover of factions, so that really kind of it ticks a lot of boxes for me. So for me, the link is factions, and one of the, I think, most underrated factions that we've seen in wrestling is the Spirit Squad.
Oh my god,
they get a lot of hate through the Spirit Squad, but one kind of wrestler in that group has really stood out to be counted. And no, it's not Kenny. It's Dolph Ziggler, obviously. Dolph Ziggler, Ziggle Piggle Pudding Pants. And he's been involved in a Christmas match. So that's the link that I'm going to. But the issue is Christmas matches tend to be pretty short. So to put a little bit more meat on the bone, I'm actually going for several Christmas skits and matches from a very particular episode of Raw. So I want to go to Monday Night Raw from December the 23rd of 2013, which was actually subtitled The Battle for Christmas. And on that Raw, we get Ziggle Piggle Pudding Pants. He takes on Fandango in a Christmas present on a pole match. We also get Mark Henry taking on Damien Sandow in a Christmas match. So I want to cover those two matches. And there is also a Christmas carol off between, I think it's R-Truth and Santino Marella and Great Khali. So yeah, it's Xavier Woods and R-Truth and Santino Marella and Great Khali. So for the Christmas episode, it's three for the price of one. We're covering a Christmas carol sing-off, Christmas present on a pole match, and Mark Henry versus Damien Sandow in the Battle for Christmas.
So basically what you're doing is cheating again, bending the rules to suit yourself.
No,
putting forward various
absolutely
matches.
not. Absolutely not.
Okay. So the December the 23rd, 2013 Raw, Battle for Christmas with Fandango versus Ziggler, a carol off. And what was the other match that you mentioned as well?
Mark Henry versus Damien Sandow.
Okay, there's plenty going on in that episode, to be fair. Plenty going on. Okay. My link is from a few years previous. We're going to go to 2014, hopefully, if my selection wins. And it's a very tenuous link, Max, because the idea of doing a Christmas episode and making sure that we link to the match previously, as you said, it was harder in practice than it was when we were discussing it, to be fair, in my head. So, but I think I've managed to do it. Before War Games 91, so on this same card, WrestleWar 91, we have a match featuring Terry Taylor versus the Z Man Tom Zane.
We do.
Okay. Terry Taylor is the computer-made man at this stage. He is being managed by Alexandra York.
Terry Runnels.
Yes, Terry Runnels. Terry, yeah, the little she-devil, as they called herself. She had a faction called the York Foundation, which was, again, all based around this incredibly chunky, heavy laptop she had, and she could predict how people were going to win the matches, and computers were going to help her guys win the matches, and so on. One of the very first members of the York Foundation was actually a guy called Michael Warstreet.
It was.
Who was Mike Rotunda, who was also IRS and so on. He was Michael Warstreet, and he was one of the very first members of the York Foundation, getting helped by Alexandra York and her computer and so on. Mike Warstreet has a couple of kids.
Yeah.
One of them has got the glorious first name of Wyndham, because obviously he's named after the wrestling god Barry Windham. But one of Mike Wall Street's children is Wyndham Rotunda, who we all know and mostly on the whole love, I believe, as Bray
Husky
Wyatt.
Harris.
Husky Harris, that's right, yeah. So that's my link, mate. I'm going to go to Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose in a Miracle on 34th Street fight from the December 22nd, 2014 Raw.
This was actually what I considered as well. So
Yeah.
I would be happy if that one wins.
So there you go. Those are your two choices for our Christmas special next week. We have the December 23rd, 2013 Raw, Battle for Christmas, Fandango versus Ziggler, Mark Henry versus, Mags, I should have written it down. Who is it? Mark Henry versus...
Damien Sandow.
A sing-off with various characters involved there as well.
Xavier Woods and R-Truth versus Santino Marella and the Great Khali. Thank you very much.
I like a bit of Santino. A Great Khali, I ain't sure about, but I like a bit of Santino. Or we have the December 22nd, 2014 episode of Raw, Miracle on 34th Street fight, Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt in that one there. Those are your two options in the poll for our Christmas special next week, the 27th of December at 9 p.m. UK time. Join us for that when you're sick of all the Christmas nonsense and you fancy a break. Come and join me and Mags. We're going to have some mince pies, some eggnog, some sherry.
I like zero of those three things.
I'm not actually saying we're going to have those. Those are just three things that's in my head.
Three Christmassy things.
Yeah, just the first three Christmassy things that popped in my head. I don't know what that was. Maybe we'll have a bit of turkey or something. I don't know. It'll be Christmassy no matter what. A great Christmas non-wrestling topic, a Christmas set of matches to discuss and look through as well. Join us there. The poll will be up, as always, on the show's Twitter midweek when the audio version comes out. Mr. Mags, where can everybody find you? And also, before we go, let everyone know about the volley, which is following us live right here on Radio Tekkers.
Yes, thank you very much. So you could follow me down here on the Twitters. I am not one of the toxic ones, believe me. So definitely come and give me a follow, where you'll find links to all the content that I'm involved in, which would include the volley, which will be live pretty much straight after we finished here. I'll have just enough time to refresh my coffee before we discuss the last week in the Premier League, which has been very riddled with COVID. A lot of the matches that have been postponed. So yeah, it may be a short, sharp one, but there's plenty of goals to talk about and a lot of interesting, controversial points that we'll be covering. So yeah, come and stick around and listen to me and Matt talk about the footballs.
Exactly. Okay, you can find me at SJP Words, but most importantly, you can find the show at @chain_wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and that TikTok thingy. I want to say just before we go, thank you so much to everyone who has tweeted the show, tweeted me, DM'd me, and so on, wishing me well as I had COVID last week and all sorts. Apologies again for the show missing last week. Join us next week for our Christmas special. And lastly, I guess, have a bloody fantastic Christmas, because this is the last episode of Chain Wrestling before the big day. I hope everyone has a wonderful time. I hope everyone gets what they want from Father Christmas, as long as you have been good. Matt Willis, I know you haven't been, so you're getting cold, I can imagine. Everybody have a glorious day, and we will see you on the 27th. I'm off now to probably take another lateral flow test and have another granny nap, because I'm feeling a bit tired still. Magsy, I will see you on the 27th, my friend. Have a good Christmas, bud.
Same to you. Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye-bye.